Hello, and welcome to CodeReg. My name is David Millington. I'm one of the product managers here at Embarcadero, and I'm very excited to be here for CodeReg Brazil today. I'm one of the product managers here at Embarcadero, along with Serena Dupont and Marco Cantu. You can see our names and emails up on screen right now. So Embarcadero is a developer tools company. We're very heavily focused on tools for developers. We have RAD Studio, which is comprised of Delphi and C++ Builder. And we also recently acquired Sencha. So we've added EXT.js, EXT React, Sencha Architect, and more to our family of developer tools. Finally, we also offer Interbase, which is a fantastic database and is especially useful for embedded work. So I'm going to be talking today about RAD Studio. What is RAD Studio? Well, RAD Studio is the fastest way to develop cross-platform native applications with flexible cloud services and broad IoT connectivity. So we work on a large number of platforms: Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, and Linux for Delphi. And we have fantastic libraries and tools that assist you in building native applications for all of those platforms. We focus heavily on fast and visual development. RAD Studio provides powerful VCL controls for Windows 10, and also through FMX or FireMonkey enables cross-platform development for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. And as I said earlier, we support a large number of platforms. Now, the VCL is the best UI control library for Windows. It is unparalleled and has no competitive product. The VCL wraps real Windows native controls that's implemented in the Windows API and also allows you to easily build custom controls, and there are many thousands of custom VCL controls available. It includes direct access to the Win32 APIs if you need, as well as to COM and WinRT and the new Windows APIs. And we've recently added new controls corresponding to common Windows 10 UI elements. It also supports styling, so you can style your existing VCL apps, and you can publish your apps on the Windows Store via the Desktop Bridge. The Desktop Bridge allows you to take any application and package it up so that it can be easily distributed on the Windows Store. The other thing we offer is FireMonkey, and that allows cross-platform native applications. You can design your UI once and customize it at design time for every platform and deploy it everywhere. So we have native platform compilers for maximum performance and security over 5 operating systems, 32 and 64-bit CPUs, Intel and ARM, and of course our runtime library and database controls work across all our platforms. Now, FireMonkey is the cross-platform equivalent of the VCL. It has amazing designers and styling and platform-specific components. It allows native controls on iOS and Windows. Native controls are on the roadmap for macOS and Android as well. FireMonkey is quite unusual in that it runs on the GPU and it's very accelerated. So when you're using FireMonkey, you have a single source but multi-device architecture, and that includes the user interface controls, which can be styled or platform native. And you have multiple compilers for the different platforms, and all of those produce native code. Now, it's a rapid application development with a strong object-oriented architecture. The multi-device designer is something that we're particularly proud of for FireMonkey. You can design your UI in the master view, and then you can create specific views that inherit from the master view for particular devices or platforms. So you can visually customize the forms for different platforms and form factors. One example is that you might build a mobile UI, and then you might have a number of customized views for tablets and then for an Android tablet specifically. You might have another one for an iPad and yet another one for an iPhone. But all of these are actually only designed once and simply tweaked for the platform. This greatly cuts down on the amount of work you need to do when you're building a UI for multiple targets. FireDAC is another fantastic library that we provide. It's a very high performance and easy to use enterprise level database connectivity library with in-memory data caching and processing. It has universal data access, but also supports database-specific features, so there are no drivers required, and of course we provide full source code. It works on all our server and client platforms, mobile included. And I believe we support something like 17 different databases, ranging from ones like Oracle to various NoSQL databases. We have extremely wide support. As well as that, we have excellent support for cloud services. So for Amazon and Azure support, including access to storage, tables, and queuing, for backend as a service providers, we have excellent REST and HTTP client libraries for direct access. Those are based on the platform native libraries. And FIDAC supports NoSQL database access, and we have full support for MongoDB, either locally or in the cloud. We also have great Internet of Things capabilities. This provides great connectivity for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and we have a large number of ready-to-use IoT components. One particularly interesting one are proximity awareness or beacons. We also support actionable data with a wide variety of sensors, and you can have fantastic device management with distributed device monitoring. Something we've added very recently are enterprise connectors. So these are add-ons for FIDAC that allow you to access over 80 data sources, and that number is growing. So we have a couple of packs of 45 connectors in Enterprise and 80 connectors in Enterprise Plus. We give you direct real-time access to a wide variety of data sources. That can be anything from SAP or SAP to Facebook to Twitter, and of course 80 others. The trial version is available in Get-It. Get-It is our package manager, which you can access from the Tools menu in the IDE, and you have royalty-free distribution, so per developer royalty-free distribution rights. We also have RAD Server. Now RAD Server is a great backend for Delphi and C++ Builder and ext.js applications. It provides a great way to turn an existing app, if you have an existing desktop or mobile application, into a REST-enabled backend. It has easy REST API endpoint publishing, supports server metadata publishing based on swagger.io, push notifications, we have user and group management, we have usage analytics, user location, proximity, beacons, and IoT support. And this is fantastic both for developing new server backends, for data that you want to be consumed by your Delphi and C++ Builder or web application using ext.js. And it's also a fantastic path to take your existing desktop applications and enable them to be used easily online. So one product focus for RAD Server is to use it for building JSON REST web services, especially if you have great database connectivity and you want to access a wide variety of enterprise services. And of course, you can use Sencha ext.js for building a web app that calls the web services that you build with RAD Server. Now in 10.2.2, we added a single site license of RAD Server to the Enterprise and Architect editions. That's for new licenses for upgrades and for update subscription customers, which is an additional $5,000 value included in the Enterprise and Architect editions. I'd also like to quickly mention Interbase. Interbase 2017 is a self-tuning, high-performance database management system. It comes in a couple of editions: Interbase Server for Windows and Linux, and IB2Go, which runs on Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, and Linux. I mentioned earlier that it is particularly great for mobile systems. Many people who are writing a mobile app and want a powerful database will use Interbase in their application for iOS or Android. And a couple of great new features such as change views, derived tables, server-wide performance monitoring, common table expressions, and more. Now I'd like to quickly focus on the Delphi language. So Delphi is the de facto modern Object Pascal programming language, and we have high-performance native compilers for 5 platforms, both 32 and 64-bit. It's a very easy to use and complete object-oriented RAD language, and we have a large community of Delphi developers in all industries and all around the world. One of the recent changes that we've made is to large memory enable the Delphi standalone compilers, which makes them much more powerful for very large projects. And we have a number of Delphi language enhancements planned, including nullable types. Here's a preview of what that might look like, where any native type can be unassigned or null. Here the code snippet I integer ? Indicates that it's a nullable integer. And you can set I to both an integer value like 10 or to nil. We're also looking at managed records, where you can define the construction and destruction behavior. This is a long-standing user request. And of course, one thing that's really important is what we call syntax sugar, where you improve the language features and how you write the code in order to make it more expressive. It allows you to simplify the coding and reduce clutter. Let's have a look at Linux servers in Delphi. So in 10.2, we introduced Linux support for Delphi with a focus on Linux 64-bit Intel servers. Now, we officially support Ubuntu and Red Hat Enterprise, but those two distributions are quite different, and so we expect software to work on most distributions. Now, currently our Linux support is for server-side technologies only, so we have the RTL and database and the normal kind of RTL utilities that you would expect. FIDAC and HTTP and REST and all the cloud and that kind of thing. We specifically have Apache integration, Datasnap, RAD server, of course, and many more. On Linux, all the core RTL is available, which you can see on screen, including all the core things such as the system unit, exceptions, threading and the parallel library, but of course native HTTP, XML and unit testing as well. Of course, one of our strengths is databases through FIDAC, and we have FIDAC drivers for all Linux-capable databases. So it's both MySQL and MariaDB, Interbase, of course, Firebird, Oracle, SQL Server, and a large number of others, including Mongo and Postgres. The only exception there is Informix, and because these are Linux databases, we don't currently support MS Access and Datasnap and DBX, which are legacy database technologies on Linux. We support Indy, both clients and servers, WebBroker, Datasnap and RAD server modules with Apache integration and standalone servers, and we have our client libraries for HTTP, REST, Cloud, Backend as a Service, and SOAP. Now I'd like to have a quick look at Windows 10 applications. So Windows 10 has a 500 million user install base, and it is greatly expected to grow. And the VCL, which is our native Windows control library, offers the best migration path to Windows 10. It retains support for older versions of Windows. We always focus very heavily on both introducing new features that are what your users need, but retaining backwards compatibility. And you can deploy to the Windows 10 store via Project Centennial, the desktop bridge. So the VCL Windows are and will remain a key focus of RAD Studio. So we have fantastic support for Windows. As I mentioned earlier, the VCL is the best and the most complete component library for native Windows. It integrates Win32, Win64, and WinRT APIs. It supports modern Windows 10 VCL styling, although we have a large number of VCL styles, and you can create your own styles if you want to. We also have a number of Windows 10 specific components, UI controls, notifications, contracts, that kind of thing. Here are some of the Windows 10 VCL controls that we've added recently. Now these map to common Windows 10 UI elements, so if you have many users on Windows 10 and you want to provide an upgraded look and feel for your software, these are excellent controls to use. But in keeping with our policy of introducing new features and matching the movement in the industry, but also keeping backwards compatibility, these are not tied to the WinRT API. They also work on Windows 7 and 8. Here are a couple more screenshots of some of the calendar controls, and on the right, the stack panel, which is a fantastic control that's useful for creating wizard-like interfaces. We also have Windows 10 Store support. So you can package apps as UWP apps using the desktop bridge, what used to be known as Centennial, and you can sell apps in the Windows 10 Store to millions of customers, and also deploy to company stores. Now we were the first IDE to support the desktop bridge, and we also support Windows 10s. Let's have a look at some of our IDE productivity features that we've added recently. So very recently we improved our install experience, and we have a fantastic installer that installs a base version of the IDE. That base install is just a bare working system. It is the IDE without actually Delphi or C++ Builder installed, but you can still use it for text editing or similar. Then you can install a number of platforms and languages into the IDE. Now they can be added or removed at any time, and it gives a very fast installation. It's based on the same technology as Getit, which is our package manager. If you want, our traditional installer, the ISO image, is still available. Now speaking of the Getit package manager, this allows you to extend the IDE with hundreds of component packages, both open source and commercial components. We've added a number of new categories and hundreds of additional trial versions and ready-to-use controls and components. One useful recent feature in the IDE we've added are quick edits. Now when you're form designing, there are a number of very common properties for your controls that you want to change. For example, the name of a control or the caption for those controls that have captions. Now quick edits allows you to access these properties very easily. Just right-click on a control, choose Quick Edit, and you can access the name, the caption, the alignment and layout and colors of those controls. Now that was introduced in 10.1.2 for VCL and last release 10.2.2 for FireMonkey. A few other things we've added recently. The structure view parser for C++. Now that is based on modern C++, C++11 language spec. You can show header dependencies for our C++ compilers, and that is itself written in C++. We added a bookmark stack to the code editor. We have syntactic expansion in the code editor. This is a fantastic feature. When you have a selection, you can intelligently expand it to make it get wider, and it does so in a way that is aware of the code. You can change file associations in the options dialog, and you can also analyze method toxicity for Delphi. Something that's been very popular that we added recently is a dark theme to the IDE. Now, this is inspired by many other productivity applications and IDEs and was a common request. And it's specifically designed to be easy on the eyes. It is not high contrast. Now, the VCL and FireMonkey designers are not themed, they are real. That's important because when you do visual design, you want to make sure that what you see when designing is what users will get when they run the application. And of course, you can toggle the IDE and editor themes separately if you wish, but by default they're controlled together, so that you can simply press one button and toggle the entire IDE between a light and dark theme. This is a full screen look at code editing in the dark theme as it looks in 10.2.3. Which is our upcoming release. Now let's have a brief look at C++ in RAD Studio. So C++ Builder, which is the C++ personality in RAD Studio, has C++11 language support for Windows, iOS, and Android. Now we use Clang enhanced compilers with extra additions for some fantastic language features. Now many of our users still use older C++, C++98 or 03, and we do want to encourage you to migrate upwards to using modern C++. A fantastic quote is that C++11 almost feels like a new language. Now, many of you will be already familiar with C++11 and some of the features it offers, but if you're not, some of those are lambdas, move semantics, automatic type deduction, native concurrency, much better inbuilt smart pointers, range for loops, and more. If you're using the classic or our older C++ compiler, then you can double your app's performance just by recompiling using our Clang enhanced compiler toolchain. Now in 10.2.x we've made a number of great improvements. We greatly improved packages for mobile. We added a new 03 level optimization which can double some code's performance. And we've done a massive amount of work on quality, so we have much better support for debugging. We have many linker improvements. And 10.2.3, we've planned for many code completion improvements. We have some fantastic exception handling fixes and many small items, and the compound effect is huge. And this makes both using third-party C++ code or moving to C++ Builder easy. We have a fantastic high-quality toolchain with great compatibility. Now, C++ Builder is excellent in Yui with the VCL and FireMonkey that we've discussed earlier, databases with FireDAC, and many other areas. You might have noticed that in the previous slide I spoke about C++ 11, and we really do want to encourage our users to move and make use of the fantastic things in modern C++. But of course we are moving forward as well, and we're looking towards C++ 17, which is coming soon. We're also planning to focus heavily on our in-IDE tooling, so making the IDE tools such as code completion and other IDE tooling that needs great awareness of the C++ language. So we have a newer compiler and better language support and improved in-IDE tooling coming, so stay tuned. And you can look at our roadmap for details. Now I want to focus a bit on what was new in 10.2.x before talking about 10.2.3, which is our upcoming release. So a very brief summary of what was new in 10.2.0, 0.1, and 0.2, of course, was adding Delphi Linux 64-bit. We had new FireDAC data drivers and database RTL changes. We added multi-tenancy support to RAD server. We had some fantastic Android improvements where we unified the Android threading model, and we have much faster rendering as well. We have some great C++ compiler and linker improvements, as I mentioned earlier, as well as some changes for our package and DLL loading for Windows Creators Update. We've improved our support for latest versions of iOS and Xcode and Android. Every release, we always focus heavily on what we call QPS, quality, performance, and stability. And that's occurred in every point release. We extended the Parse API for other providers. We had some great FireDAC improvements for SQL Server Interbase 2017 and ODBC. We added the IDE dark theme, and we added some new VCL controls. Of course, there were many more things, but that's a very brief summary of what was new in those three releases. Now, new in 10.2.3, we have some fantastic planned features. Now, this recording is pre-recorded. I'm speaking to you from the past, from Monday. I'm very hopeful by the time you actually see this talk that 10.2.3 will be out, and if it isn't, it will be coming out very, very soon. So the features that we have in 10.2.3 are rename refactoring for C++. We introduced CMake command line support. We have some great VCL quality improvements, including for high DPI, as well as quality for FireMonkey. We have some more EXTJS support and RAD server enhancements for fantastic improvements in RAD server in general, and also great integration with the Sencha EXTJS tools. And some more IDE UX improvements, and of course many more than I can cover today. Let's have a quick look at some of these. So the first one is introducing rename refactoring. I mentioned earlier that we are focusing on extending our C++ IDE tooling, and rename refactoring is one of these features. Refactorings of all sorts are very useful for improving your code quality, for reducing maintenance and more. Code constantly grows and changes, and refactoring that code is essential. Rename refactoring allows you to right-click an identifier in your code and quickly rename it throughout the entire project. It's one of the most common types of refactoring, and it's very useful for improving code readability and structure. Being able to rename in an automated fashion reduces errors when renaming and, of course, decreases the effort to maintain your project. Here are a couple of screenshots. You can right-click on something in the editor, choose Refactor, Rename, and on the right-hand side you can see an example there of renaming a class called Grid to MyGrid class. Now, C++ Builder builds a database for your projects. This is persistent over IDE restarts. Now in 10.2.3, that's updated only when you invoke rename refactoring, but we have great plans for that database in future. And you can rename types, methods, variables, friends, etc. Renaming is project level. Now, something I'm very excited to introduce in 10.2.3 is CMake. Now, CMake is a very popular C++ build tool, and you're probably all familiar with it. Now in 10.2.3 we provide support for building CMake projects on the command line using our compilers. This allows you to do a number of things. The first is that you can easily build third-party libraries without having to convert them to a C++ Builder project. The other is that if you have a C++ Builder project, you can create a CMake list.txt file for it and use CMake to build your project. Now, one thing that we explicitly support is using Ninja with CMake. Now, Ninja is a small build system focused on speed. And so using the combination of CMake and Ninja gives you very fast parallel builds. C++ can sometimes be a slow language to compile, and making use of Ninja can dramatically speed up your build times. Now, CMake support is provided for Windows, Android, and iOS, and supports our Clang-enhanced compilers. And for Win32, we've introduced a new Clang-enhanced driver that's just a front end for the compilers, called BCC32X. So some of the key benefits of CMake, as I mentioned, are fast parallel builds using Ninja that will scale roughly linearly with the CPU core count. So a 2-core machine may build twice as fast. An 8-core machine might build 8 times as fast. There's a huge benefit for C++ projects there, which often take minutes to hours to build. Now, we already have parallel compilation inside the IDE, but CMake and Ninja are fast and lightweight and worth using. And they also allow third-party library integration, so most C++ libraries and applications use CMake, and you can now build those without having to convert them to a C++ Builder project. That means it's very easy to bring in your favorite C++ library, build it, and then be able to use it with your application. Now, 10.2.3's CMake is our first step, and we have plans for IDE integration in future. We've also expanded our RAD server and EXTJS support. So we simplified development of a RAD server backend for a Sencha EXTJS client. You will also host static files, any files, but perhaps HTML, JavaScript, or CSS files in the RAD server development and debugging server. And you can easily configure your system for testing a local deployment with an HTML and JavaScript front end. And of course, that includes using Sencha tools. And a web service powered by RAD server REST support. And we have several demos for RAD server, and we've added a new one showing customized user management client application with Active Directory integration. And this really shows some of the power of using RAD server for your backend. In 10.2.3, we are now shipping Interbase 2017 Developer Edition, as well as the IB Lite and IB To Go 2017. And that replaces Interbase XE7, which was installed until version 10.2.2. And an Interbase 2017 developer license has been included with 10.2 ever since the initial 10.2 release. Now, something fantastic that I'm very excited to talk about is how mobile support is included in the Delphi and C++ Builder Professional editions. Now, in the past, when you bought Delphi or C++ Builder Pro, you had to buy mobile support, that is for iOS or Android, as an extra add-on. Now in 10.2.3, the Professional edition of Delphi and C++ Builder includes mobile support out of the box. Existing customers on Delphi or C++ Builder Pro with an active update subscription will get a mobile pack license. And that means when you buy Pro, you will be able to target all the platforms that you would expect: Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android, just with the Pro SKU. And this is very exciting. We've added some great Yui templates for FireMonkey. Now, FireMonkey is a fantastic cross-platform Yui control system, and you can create some amazing and very fluid and very good-looking UIs with it. And we really want to demonstrate what's possible, and we've done so with 18 different templates. This includes login screens, sign-up screens, profile screens, settings, and more. And they're really designed to highlight FireMonkey's multi-device capabilities. They're also great to help new users get started more quickly. If you're new to FireMonkey, you can look at some of these templates and see how we've implemented them to get an idea of what to do. And they also showcase a FireMonkey best practice development. And each template is different. They all showcase key Yui paradigms that you, if you're targeting mobile apps, need to know and need to be able to provide in today's applications. Here's some screenshots of some of the Yui templates that we're providing. As you can see, they look fantastic. And you can look at these to see how we've built them and how you can build applications like these in Delphi and C++ Builder as well. We also have some key quality enhancements. So we've focused on the VCL with high DPI and style quality. For FiMonkey, we have a large number of improvements across multiple platforms. We have some quality improvements in the IDE and installation. We've improved MIME support for the REST client library, and we also support the more recent Google Ads and Maps services. Finally, for more information, please visit our website, embarcadero.com, for product details, our community site, community.embarcadero.com, for blogs, events, and forums, and of course our documentation is online at our DocWiki. Now I'll hand over to the questions and answers. Thank you very much.